Welcome to this live, and we're going to get started in just one moment. And perhaps if you're joining the live, or even if you're watching the replay, why don't you let me know what part of the world you're joining me from? Let me know your city. Let me know your country. Let me know what part you're joining me from. We always get people every time I communicate from all over the globe, from down here in Australia where I'm broadcasting this live today from, all the way to North America, through Europe, through the Pacific Islands, through Brazil and Mexico, parts of the United Kingdom, France, Spain. It's always great for me to hear what part of this beautiful planet you are joining today. Now, if you caught the title of this live stream today, you will have seen that it said, "What is QHHT? Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique?" It's what I'm going to answer today. I got my little alarm clock going off here. I don't know why I developed it. How does it work? What can be expected from having a session? How do I prepare to have a session if I'm going to have one? I'm going to answer all of these questions today in this live broadcast. And even if you're watching the replay, I invite you to engage, to ask questions about the subject. And at the end of the broadcast, I'm going to be doing a whole Q&A section. But who do we have here on the live today? I'm just going to check on my YouTube app here who's joining us, who's live with us. I love hearing from you. We have Michelle and we have Heather. Great to see you, Heather. Heather's in the United States. She's in Michigan. Welcome to Michael, I think it is, from Montreal. If you're in the chat now, let me know where you're joining me from. We have Holland. Is that, oh no, it's Holla from Holland in Michigan. It's Tammy. Hello, Tammy. I love it when you join, Tammy. Tammy, let me know, is Holland a part, is that a district of Michigan, or are you traveling to Holland? Are you visiting Holland? Maybe you can let me know. Tyler from Los Angeles in California, welcome. What part of Los Angeles, Tyler, are you from? Let me know in the chat. I'm talking about quantum healing hypnosis technique. I'm going to be explaining how the method works. Not everybody knows this, but I'm a practitioner trained by her technique of quantum healing hypnosis technique. There, I've given it away, who developed it right away. Danielle, welcome to you. And Joy, I think, is in California, welcome. And we have Dina from Minnesota, welcome to you. She's the best, I love her. So do I, Michael. She has been my teacher and my guide. They're pretty big shoes to fill when you're one of her practitioners, let me tell you. Not that I'm trying to be the next Dolores or anything like that. I'm simply trained in her method to continue her work so that it doesn't go away. Dolores developed this method over 45 plus years. In the last 10 years of her life, she got a very strong intuitive message to teach her method. She spent the last 10 years of her life, although she was still having sessions with clients, she was still writing books, but she dedicated much of that last 10 years to teach the method to people like me that now practice that method. what she observed in the early days, although she didn't know if the method would be successful with other practitioners as she was navigating the effects and learning whether it would work in the same way. Very quickly after she started to teach the method, she was finding that her students were experiencing much of the same profound results as she was. So this pleased her greatly. She knew that her method worked. So she continued to teach it really up until the day that she left the physical. She did not retire. She did not have a period of being sick. She left very quickly. Perhaps you've got questions about Dolores and you can let me know. Oh, hello, Lynn. Lynn has joined us. Is that the Queen of England? No, it is not. It is Dolores Cannon. They have the same haircut though, or same hairstyle. I suppose that is because they come from the same generation. My grandmother had exactly the same haircut, the same hairstyle. Perhaps your grandmother did too. You can let me know. Actually, that is a common one I get from people, is they say, Paul, Dolores reminds me of my grandmother. She looks the same. That's why I resonate with her loving energy. But it is not the Queen of England. So hopefully that clears that up, Mr. West 15. When did she pass? She passed in 2014, Julie. She passed very quickly. In fact, on this YouTube channel, I do an interview with her daughter, Julia Cannon, and we talk about what it was like from her daughter's perspective of losing her mother. It's a fantastic and intriguing interview that I did about a year ago. But I'm not going to speak so much about that today. I'm going to talk more about her method of quantum healing hypnosis technique, or better known as QHHT, abbreviated. When Dolores started with her method, she didn't know what to call it. She originally called it advanced past life regression. It was her students that said to her, we don't think it's a good name. Let's try to find something else that explains the method better. The reason that they said that is because it was a little bit deceiving thinking it was just past life regression. This method is so much more than just going into a past life to get information, either out of curiosity or for souls or the soul's understanding of itself. A better term that was developed was quantum healing. Dolores observed, as we do as her practitioners, that predominantly this is a healing method. No, it's not only about healing us in the present, it's about releasing and relinquishing blocks from the past, past lives, past versions of ourselves, even into our childhood in this life. Things that are affecting us in the present. Things that are perhaps blocking us from reaching our potential into the future. And although I'm adopting language for conversational sake, past, present, future, who knows that time is an illusion anyway? It's a construct of our human mind to help us navigate, to help us experience this physical life. When you pass on, when you leave the physical, you will understand and know that you are then timeless or in the eternal. I'm not going to get into that subject today. That's a whole nother thing, and I could go on for hours trying to explain how time works. Someone is saying they're blocked. Lynn is from Chicago, welcome. And Dee has joined us. Welcome to you, Dee. Dolores reminds me of my mum. Yes, I said that earlier. Often Dolores reminds us of a parent or a grandparent. Someone asked earlier if this was the Queen of England because they have the same haircut. And I answered no, of course. Many of you know who this is. Dina, some of the specifics of how this method works. Let's look at the history. How did it start? I'll briefly explain how Dolores got started. Dolores years ago, over 45 years ago now, even probably a little bit longer, her and her husband Johnny went into regression work, hypnosis. Originally, they got into hypnosis to help people with habits. Quit smoking, lose weight, things like this. One of the first people, woman, and was experiencing some health issues relating to being overweight. And she wanted to get healthier. She wanted to live in a more healthy body. So she went to Dolores as one of the first people she worked with. Under hypnosis, Dolores Cannon and her husband Johnny observed that this lady spontaneously went into a past life. It was completely unexpected. Dolores and Johnny were not expecting this to occur. And Dolores, being the great investigator, researcher that she was, of course, had a lot of questions. She wasn't frightened by this experience. She was very inquisitive, and she had many questions. This account is detailed in one of her books, and I can let you know later what book that is, and you can read it for yourself. This is written in great detail by Dolores in one of her books. Tammy has said she's joining from Nebraska. Welcome, Tammy. Actually, do we have two Tammys in the chat today? Because someone, we do. We have two Tammys, one from Michigan, one from Nebraska. Welcome to the two Tammys that are joining us. I've always loved that name, Tammy. It's an uncommon name here in Australia. We don't normally have women called Tammy. It's obviously a name that is more common in the United States. This set a trajectory for Dolores when she had the past life experience with this individual. It set a journey more out of reprogramming the subconscious mind to more doing regression work, past life regression. During this time period, this was not a common practice in the West at all. This precedes Dr. Brian Weiss's work. Many people that are now in the field well preceded it. When Dolores Cannon wanted to publish her first book on this subject, she couldn't find a publisher. The feedback was always collective rejection letters from the publishers. They said, well, what are you talking about, past lives? This is not anything that anyone of our readers would be interested in. She eventually went on to self-publish. Not in the sense of we self-publish now on Amazon. Johnny, her husband, helped her found a publishing company which still exists today, Ozark Mountain Publishing. They publish hundreds and hundreds of books by many authors all around the world. It still exists today. has a successful publishing company. When she received the rejection, she created, or they created for themselves, their own publishing. What a pioneer. Although we commonly do this today, back then, this was almost unheard of, that you would set up your own publishing company because you couldn't get a publisher. Talk about someone that was not willing to give up. When I've experienced moments of disappointment, of giving up, I'm consistently reminded of Dolores Cannon as my teacher's advice and own journey. In fact, I'll quote her. She said once, "You'll never know what you could have achieved if you give up on your dreams." The vast majority of us give up in the environment of disappointment. We face setbacks, so we give up. We think that we don't have what it takes, that we're not good enough, that we're not articulate enough, that we're not likable enough, all of the signaling that we tend to get. For the vast majority of people, they act upon those thoughts, those beliefs, and that they give up. When I have faced my own inevitable adversities and challenges, I've had the temptation to give up. I haven't. In fact, I'm in a whole new phase of my work at the moment that feels, to my analytical mind, terrifying, because I'm stepping out of my own comfort zone. Who's feeling that? Maybe you can let me know in your life, the same type of resistance. Who's being challenged to go to different things in their own life that they know that they need to step out of the boat of familiarity, of comfort. I'd be interested to hear from you. Someone says that's beautiful. Oh, Christina, welcome from Sweden. What part of Sweden are you joining from? Are you from Stockholm? We have Suzanne from Indiana. We have someone from Iraq. Welcome, Andy from Iraq. Welcome to you. Great to have you joining us. We're talking about quantum healing hypnosis technique today. So you know the background of it now. It was a 45-year journey of working with thousands of individuals, perfecting, fine-tuning the method before she eventually taught it in the last 10 years of her life. What is the purpose, though, of quantum healing hypnosis technique? Is the purpose just about learning about past lives? Is it just about past life regression? Discovering who we are out of curiosity? Although people may have that as a motivation, the vast majority of people experience profound healing when they have a quantum healing hypnosis session. They discover that they have blocked themselves through trauma or through fear or through perhaps a past life lesson that they haven't learnt. In a quantum healing hypnosis session, when we get the conscious mind out of the way and we get into touch with this aspect that can be defined in many ways: subconscious, higher self, higher mind, universal mind, spirit, soul. all synonymous, all meaning the same thing. Dolores found that this part of a person had the answers to everything. When you get the conscious mind out of the way, that aspect of a person has the answers. Now this ties into ancient wisdom tradition, where it always speaks about the answers being within oneself. Often we don't have the tools to access the knowledge. We tend to be so identified with the analytical aspect that our internal environment is not conducive at all to hear our higher guidance, our higher awareness, to be able to tap into this higher knowledge or aspect of ourselves. This is where Dolores Cannon's method of quantum healing hypnosis technique is so powerful. It's a specific... In people's individual lives, they often say, I don't know how to access this higher aspect of myself. I have an over-analytical mind that's always busy, and I don't hear the wisdom from my higher awareness, from my higher self. Quantum healing hypnosis technique is a wonderful and a proven way to access that very information. Every single client that I work with one-on-one, or when I do an online past life regression session, which is different from quantum healing hypnosis technique, but it's also a similar technique, people always get what they want. But here's the catch. It's not always what they think, right? It's not always what... I've got feedback coming on my phone there. People always get what they need. It's not often what they think it's going to be, but it is what they need. For example, someone might go into a session and say, well, I want to understand this concept. In fact, Dolores Cannon's books talks in great depth about this when people do this. And sometimes the answer will be, well, you're not to know that information right now. Oh, that gets people disappointed. When we incarnate, the veil comes down and we forget who we are, we forget our soul lessons, we forget our purpose. It is our job, it is our mission to remember. And that is a long exploration of discovery. My spiritual journey started 17 years ago. The version that is communicating with you now is a late model of that version. In fact, many of you are going to relate to this. I was a very introspective, introverted personality. I would never communicate publicly. Someone has said, is that Barbara Bush in the background? No, it's Dolores Cannon. You're right, though, they had the same hairstyle. When we understand that often the blocks that we experience, mine was communicating. Although my soul's purpose was to communicate, I was afraid that when I communicated, I would be criticized. So I didn't communicate publicly. I kept all the knowledge inside. I let fear hold me back from my potential. What I learnt, and I've now been communicating for quite some years on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. What I learnt years ago is if you put yourself out there, you're going to get the criticism and you're going to get the praise. Regardless if it's criticism or praise, it does not matter ultimately. Of course, we like the praise better, right? No one likes to be criticized. Regardless of who you are, whether you're someone like me that's communicating online or anyone in any public space is going to get those two things. I'm not special. No one else is special in that way, is that they won't get both. You have to find a way of not deriving an identity, good or bad, from what others think about you. This is a big lesson. I get criticized often. I get praised often. My identity comes from the I am. Your identity comes from your I am. That is who you really are. Maybe you can let me know in the chat, because I'm interested to know who has let fear hold them back from speaking, from communicating, from putting themselves out there in some public way. The reason that I'm going down this road is I think someone needs to hear this today. So let me know in the chat. A lot of people will criticize other people because of their own insecurities, and they're looking for validation, they're looking for attention. Generally, those people don't have any self-confidence, they live in self-hatred, they don't have the ability to put themselves out there, so what they'll do is they'll criticize and try to tear you down and get your attention. I've learnt now, I don't give those people any attention anymore. That's what they're really craving. I would much rather give my energy to someone that I'm going to positively influence. Your voice is an instrument. Like it would be if you had a piano in the house or a guitar in the house, your voice is an instrument. You can either use that instrument to play the most horrendous sound. You can hate on other people, you can be negative, you can tear people down, you can start a war, you can create any kind of hatred, or you can use your instrument to play the most beautiful of sounds that are going to inspire, to uplift, to help, to influence. How are you using your instrument? Are you afraid to use your instrument? Are you hitting one key on the keyboard, so to speak? I love that, using that analogy, because years ago I was told about that from a vocal teacher. Most people, when they communicate, they speak in a monotone. They don't use melody in their voice. I've learned, although I get criticized for it, that I like to use my hands and be expressive like the Italians do in their culture. Now, often ignorant people will say, men shouldn't use their hands when they communicate. I love to use my hands. I love to use melody in my voice when I communicate, like I would play a piece of music. I don't want to speak in a monotone all the time. I don't think that is engaging. And I don't want to sit here with my hands like this, talking in a monotone. I don't think that's expressive. I don't think people receive the passion in which the words are intended. But of course, this and this is going to get criticized. Do you think I'm bothered? Do you think I care? No, I don't. Equally, as nice is to receive praise, I also don't derive an identity from it. And now neither should you. Neither should you. It's very liberating to be authentically yourself and not care what the critics say. In fact, I will argue that anyone that is really doing anything in this life that is meaningful is getting criticized. So get over it. I got over it a long time ago. There is nothing that can be said to me in a live stream or in an email or any time I'm out there that gets to me. It doesn't bother me. You can hit me as hard as you like. It ain't bother me. It ain't. There's a comedy, a British comedy that I love to watch, and it says that I ain't bothered. And I find that very funny. I ain't bothered, as the English like to say. I want to answer some questions. Connie from Brisbane, welcome. Welcome to you, Connie. And we have Heather. You're doing a great job. Thank you, Heather. Thank you. I appreciate that. That is kind. You're an awesome man. I'm going to believe and follow you. Oh, thank you, Michael. Forget the negative people. I do. Because you know what? The world is full of negative people. Negative people start wars. Negative people have hate within them. You will project your state of consciousness, good, bad, or indifferent, on the world, right? Do you want to be one of those people? Now, you'll find them in the chats of these type of live communications, because a lot of people that are troll-based individuals will look for live broadcasts where they can. Guess what I do on my broadcasts? I completely ignore them. I don't even give them the time of day. I think that's the best way to go about it. Now, I can individually go in and read all those comments and answer them and come back with something else. I've got better things to do with the time that we've got here. And that is why I'm communicating about Dolores Cannon's method. Now, Dolores Cannon gets criticized all the time. She gets criticized even though she's not with us physically. She gets criticized for her hair, her appearance, the way she dressed, her weight. You think she was stopped by such negative individuals? Neither am I. There are some common misperceptions about quantum healing hypnosis technique. One of the first ones is, can it be done online? Quantum healing hypnosis technique as the registered technique cannot be done online. It is only licensed to be done in person with a practitioner. Now, if you don't reside in Melbourne here in Australia, or can travel to Melbourne here in Australia, I won't be able to do a quantum healing hypnosis session with you. But what I can do is I can refer you to a practitioner in your local area for you to have a one-on-one session. I offer other forms of hypnosis online if you would like to work with me personally. I also do healing sessions from the knowledge and the training that I have received from Dolores Cannon. I use that knowledge and that training, and I've developed my own healing sessions where I can work one-on-one with individuals. I do that all of the time. Someone has said Montreal, Quebec. I was just having a conversation with someone from Canada today. I've got a, Michael, I believe it is, I have someone I can refer you to if you want to email me. You can find my email in my bio, which is the homepage on YouTube, and I'll be happy to provide that to you. There are so many misconceptions about hypnosis, and I want to clear some of those up. For some reason, people think when they go into hypnosis that they're going to forget, that it's expected that they're not going to remember anything. I've observed, and all the practitioners I have conversations with very rarely find that an individual will not remember. I don't know where this misconception comes from, that people are meant to forget everything. It's very rarely the case. Sometimes when someone is in this somnambulistic state, they are so identified with the aspect of themselves, the past life version, they're so in character, so to speak, that they forget consciously. It's quite rare that that happens. In fact, the vast majority of people that worked with Dolores even found that they did remember, particularly in the later times. When Dolores was asked about that, she said it's important that people remember because it's helpful for them to help integrate it. And although every single quantum healing hypnosis technique session that occurs, whether it's with me or with another practitioner, is recorded. So you don't have to try to consciously remember what is coming through, because it will be recorded. This is good to note because it allows the individual to completely relax, to completely surrender to the process and not be trying to remember or recall anything. So that's important. Another misconception when it comes to quantum healing hypnosis technique or any hypnosis is that somehow you're relinquishing your free will and you're going to be controlled, if not manipulated, by your practitioner. Anyone that was trained by Dolores Cannon does not do this, I can guarantee you. No one can really control you or suggest something to you outside of your free will. It does not happen. It's a misconception when it comes to hypnosis. Perhaps it comes from stage hypnotism, where you've seen those demonstrations of people barking like a dog on stage, dancing like a chicken on stage in a crazy way. Perhaps that's where that idea comes from. Even with stage hypnotism, although it's very different from hypnotherapy, which is a version of, or quantum healing hypnosis technique is a version of hypnotherapy designed to be therapeutic and healing. Perhaps the misunderstanding comes from the world of stage hypnotism. My understanding of stage hypnotism, although I've never been to a live performance of one, I've witnessed it on videos that I've watched, TV shows that I've watched. At some level, the individual has put up their hand in the audience and given subconscious permission to receive the commands and the instructions of the hypnotist. So really they're agreeing to that, so they're not out of control anyway. Okay, it's time for questions and answers. Specifically, we're going to keep this to quantum healing hypnosis technique. If you've got a question about this technique, I want to answer those questions now. Type it in the chat and I'm going to answer them. And then I'm going to give you some additional resources that I think will be helpful to you. So any questions that we've got about quantum healing hypnosis technique, I want to answer them. Hello, Dora from Austin. Welcome to you. Hypnosis can be dangerous. I don't think that quantum healing well, actually, I know. I know that the method that I'm discussing today, developed by Dolores Cannon, is not dangerous. from the thousands and thousands and thousands of sessions that I have been privy to hear about, either through fellow practitioners, my own clients, Dolores Cannon's clients of 45 years, plus all of the people that I read about regularly that have sessions in the global forum of QHHT, I've never heard of a single account of anyone that has been harmed using this method. I've never heard of it. And I know about thousands and thousands upon sessions. So perhaps other hypnosis techniques, if they are not being done correctly, perhaps I can't comment on that because I'm unaware of it. But thank you, Michael, nonetheless. Michael said perfect. So obviously that's cleared that up. Julie, how long is a session in length and how many sessions do you need to succeed? Great question. Typically, a quantum healing hypnosis technique goes for anywhere between 4 to 6 hours in length. It typically, for me, goes more toward the 5 to 6 hours and even beyond. I've had a 12-hour session with somebody that I've worked with regularly. She's got the most profound information that comes through, and we always just go on for so long. Only one session is ever required. This differs a lot from other types of hypnosis where you need to get a package of sessions and keep coming back. Although some people want to have further sessions, as I have, only one is needed to do the healing work and to get all of the answers. The way that a quantum healing hypnosis technique session is structured is that there is an interview process. That is where the client and the practitioner sit down in both a comfortable position and they converse for about 2 hours or so, often longer, discussing one's life, discussing everything about the individual's life up until the point that they're sitting with a practitioner. You'd be amazed, it does take about 2 hours for someone to go through their life story. What I love about this is it's often the first time that an individual will have someone listen for 2 hours about their whole life story, uninterrupted. They just get to share from their perspective. Profoundly healing to do. Most of us have never experienced that in itself. That takes 2+ hours to facilitate. Of course, people are taking breaks to use the bathroom and stretch and so on. And then the practitioner will guide the individual through the script that is derived by Dolores Cannon, written by Dolores Cannon, into the somnambulistic state. It is also known as the Theta state. It's the deepest state of relaxation. Now, you're in this twice a day anyway. That's why it's so natural to anyone experiencing this. You're in it first thing in the morning as you wake up. Just as you're waking up, perhaps the alarm clock is going off in the background and you're just coming out of a dream. Perhaps you're still in the dream when you can hear the alarm clock. Now that state is known as the Theta state, the Theta brainwave, or Dolores Cannon called it the somnambulistic state, the deepest state of relaxation where there is a form of consciousness, but you're not asleep, but you're not fully awake yet. That is the state. That is the state that is less identified with the analytical mind, where all of the doubts and fears and blocks are. This is the part that we work with. That aspect of quantum healing hypnosis technique generally will go for 3, let's say from about 2 to 3 hours, even longer. So there we go, we've already had almost 5 hours there. And then after that, when someone comes out of that state, I will speak with my client about the experience. We'll discuss it. The next step is I email them the following day with an audio recording of the session so that they can listen back to it at a later day, a later stage. I've listened to my first session numerous times, perhaps 7, 8 times. Dolores found this as well. Every time you listen back to it, you get more information and you get more healing, because even listening to it, everything is energy, and the energy continues to integrate into your experience even upon listening to it. Let me get to these questions before I close. I would love that, Michael says. Any advice on... No, I don't think that is an appropriate question. Wow, what cost? It all depends, Julie. You're obviously not in my location, so there's no point me giving my costs to you. If you want to book a one-on-one online session with me, which is not QHHT, you will find all my prices in my links. And if you want to find those links, just go to my bio on YouTube and you will find the links in my bio. Dolores Cannon, someone has said, and it's spelled D-O-L-R-E-S, not D-E. A lot of people get the spelling wrong of that. I point that out because when you're doing a Google search, it's better that you get the spelling right so you get all of the appropriate things that you're looking for. So it's D-O-L-O-R-E-S. And it's Cannon, not Gannon with a G. Just clearing that up. So Julie said, great, thanks. Have we got any specific questions before I close about quantum healing hypnosis? And then I'm going to give you some additional resources, some of Dolores Cannon's books, some of Dolores Cannon's material that I can recommend as a next step after you listen to this today. So I'll give people a moment to ask any specific questions. Now, can I ask at the same time, oh, hello, Soren has just joined us. I mentioned you, Soren, earlier in one of my subscription videos, joining from the central part of Europe there. And Stella has joined. I'd like to do a quantum healing hypnosis technique session as well. Amazing. Yeah, it's incredibly beneficial. A lot of people I refer, I'm not referring to have a session with me because they're not located in my location of Melbourne, Australia, or even in Australia. So I often will refer them to other practitioners. But wherever you find yourself in the world, I guarantee close by where you live, you will find a practitioner. And I am more than happy to refer you to a practitioner if you want to email me. Soren has said it's morning here at 7:17 a.m. Good morning to you. Dina, can you tell us what type of soul we are? Oh, that is a convoluted question. I would love to in future broadcasts, but that is not the purpose of this broadcast today. This is about quantum healing, hypnosis techniques. So I want to answer specific questions about that. What is the purpose of a quantum healing hypnosis technique session? And I discussed the purpose earlier on. You probably went around, Janine, to hear it. The purpose is to have questions answered and to experience healing. We often create our own subconscious blocks. Now, these blocks may present in the form of relational blocks, money blocks, blocks about beliefs that we have unconsciously. Our thoughts create our reality, good, bad, and indifferent. It's important to get very clear with yourself about what you are projecting, because what you are projecting will become your life experience, good, bad, indifferent. When it comes to healing or releasing or relinquishing, quantum healing hypnosis technique has been specifically designed as a therapeutic method to be able to do that process with a practitioner. We get to the root cause of any illness or ailment, and in that relaxed somnambulistic state, we've got an opportunity to heal or release anything that is holding us back that we've created ourselves. We create our own illness. We create our own blocks. We create everything in our experience. And yes, that includes all the negative stuff. Now, obviously, you don't do it consciously. Who's going to create a block when it comes to abundance? Of course, we all want to be abundant. We all want functioning, wonderful relationships in our life. However, much of the time we don't get it. Because you don't get what you want in life, you get what you are. You get what you believe. You get what you are projecting, because you are creating it. You're creating your life. You're creating your experience. And that is what you get. And that includes all of the perceived negatives. This is why this method is so powerful, because you get to face it. And if you are ready and you are willing, you can release and you can relinquish all of those things that no longer serve you. Will it help with chronic illness? Absolutely. It's wonderful for chronic illness. It's wonderful for any form of healing. I've seen people that have been given a terminal diagnosis come to me. With one woman in particular that I worked with was given 3 weeks to live. She had advanced ovarian cancer. She had tumors throughout her lymph nodes and in the area of the cervix. After one session that we did together, and I didn't do the healing, I want to be very clear about that. I don't heal anybody. I facilitate a natural healing process. I aid in it, but I don't do the healing. Neither did Dolores Cannon, but she aided in a natural healing process. That is where the miracle happens, when one is ready to release the reason why they created the illness in the first place. And yes, my perspective is that we do create everything in our life, physically, emotionally, by what we believe, by the energy that gets lodged or stored in our energetic body, in our etheric body. When you understand this, that everything is energy, including you, when you have resentment, when you have hatred, unless you release and you're prepared to release that, it's going to get lodged, it's going to eventually manifest in your physical body. Sometimes it can be from another incarnation. And Dolores Cannon taught that concept. And I won't get into that today because that's another long subject. You provide the safe container for healing. Facts, someone has said. Thank you. Someone has talked about abuse there. I want to talk to that. I was abused in my childhood. If someone had said to me as a child, you put yourself in that position, Paul, you allowed yourself to be abused, it wouldn't have. Like if you said, let's feed a steak to a baby. I use that example because Dolores used it and I like to use it as well. It's a great analogy. Of course you wouldn't feed a steak to a baby because a baby isn't going to be able to digest that. Either would have I been as a child to digest that my abuse was something that in some way I had created. We grow and we learn from adversity and challenge. No matter how dark, no matter how bad it is perceived to be. And you have an opportunity. You can stay attached to those people. You can relive through, as I did, the nightmares and the dis-ease that such a horrendous act can produce. Or you can free yourself from the perpetual cycle and any attachment than they did to you. When I forgave my abusers, I in no way made the abuse right. In fact, the very opposite. I freed myself from the emotional attachment of my abusers and I let it go. I said no more power over me because I am in control. What did I get from the abuse, you might ask? I got the biggest amount of compassion and empathy and understanding when I work with people that have been abused. That's what I got. And I use my life now, and I still get hate every day, even in this broadcast today. Trolls and nastiness and all of this. But nonetheless, I use my life, I use my experience, I use what I have been through to help others heal. And that is what I do. Now, do we have a justice system for these people? And should we, and absolutely should we have a justice system that will protect other people from such people? But that's my story. I haven't really shared it before, but I thought I would today. I hope someone gets some. And maybe you've been abused emotionally, physically. Let it go. And I know this is hard, and we wouldn't feed a steak to a baby, but if you want to be free, if you want to be well, you have to free yourself from the past. How do you know if it's your ego talking in your head or your etheric? Well, here's a great question, Amy. We know through experience. See, when you meditate, when you create a constant environment that is conducive for you to hear your higher self, you're in tune with that aspect of yourself. I know because I get the signs, synchronicities, I get the corresponding truth bumps in the form of goosebumps, I call them truth bumps, in my body. When I'm on truth, I feel it energetically in my body. I feel it through my legs and through my arms. I know when my higher awareness is communicating with me. Now, generally, when it is the analytical mind, is always trying to keep you safe and small and protected. That's its job. It's not bad. It's just trying to keep you safe. Unfortunately, it keeps us small most of the time, and we don't venture out into the unknown and really grow as a soul, grow as a person, because we're trying to stay small and safe. So that is how you know. Truth bumps, someone said, Janine, yes, and Soren. If I don't speak up, I can't help the children. Using your voice, using your instrument, like I said earlier when someone was projecting some negativity onto me, I use my voice to project, to advocate for others that don't have a voice. Oh boy, will I become tough in that mode. I have this ethos, be kind but be harsh at the same time. Doesn't mean being a walk all over and allowing it. When I was abused as a child, I didn't have the ability to protect myself then. But boy, do I tell you, I got the ability now to protect myself. And very rarely do people have the opportunity of abusing me in my everyday life. They never get a chance because I don't allow it. I don't put up with BS in my life, including people that even troll me during these broadcasts. I ignore them. In fact, they actually help me. You know why? Because every person that comments and likes and engages and comments helps algorithmically get this message out to more people. So the trolls actually work for me, believe it or not. They don't know that, but they are working for me. So don't resist anything in life. What you resist is going to persist. Allow it to be, but don't let it stop you from being your authentic self. If I did, I would be not broadcasting now because I'd be afraid of what the trolls had to say. Of course, I get vastly more positive messages than negative ones, but that even doesn't matter because the only perspective that truly matters is what I believe about myself. I'm here, as you are, to fulfill your soul's purpose. And that is why I'm broadcasting. That is why I'm doing this work today. Much love. I know I've been on for... My stopwatch stopped before. It was vibrating in the background. I had to turn it off. So I don't know how long I've been on. An hour. Oh, I better go and have my lunch. If you've got any questions, if you're watching the replay, I will check the replay and I will check your messages and I will correspond with you. If you want to have a one-on-one session with me, you can find my links in the bio. I will communicate with you again early next week. Much love. Have a wonderful week.